Hi, I'm here with Jenny Kirshner. Jenny is an amazing, amazing pharmacist who is coming to our symposium to speak about what she calls the social biome and the epidemic of loneliness. And this might be something that we don't always associate with a pharmacist's work. Jenny, tell us about your job as a pharmacist and how that's led you to talk about loneliness.
Sure, Beck. Thank you so much for having me and having this chat today. So, my dad's a pharmacist. I think it's always important to provide a bit of context. And I recall when I was little, I worked in the pharmacy there, and I worked doing kind of window displays in the front. So I think I always imagined pharmacy to be a very creative role and about window displays. And then obviously I've come to realize it was quite different to that. And I've kind of got a little bit full circle, bringing the creativity back in. So I'm a pharmacist. I've worked as both a retail pharmacist and a clinical hospital pharmacist. I've also done other things like worked as a pharmacist health coach in lifestyle modification programs, so helping people to reduce their risks of things like diabetes and cardiovascular disease. And I'm a pharmacist who's run daytime dance parties called Mother Funkers, and a sense of community and bringing mums together and providing support when they have little babies. So I would say I'm a kind of a different kind of pharmacist than the traditional pharmacist. Yeah. And what I've also found is that I'm an empath, and I was able to see loneliness in people. And so as a pharmacist, I'm moving towards really focusing on what we can do to support people's social health and their social biome to enable them to live kind of best quality of life. Because when you think about it, at the end of the day, underneath everything, we're all human. We all want to feel a sense of worth and like we're seen and we're valued and that we belong. And that's something that it can sound like a very soft skill, but there's so much robust scientific evidence showing the importance of having a good social biome that I no longer feel like it's a soft skill. It's something that's got, straddles both the soft and the hard science.
So I love everything you just said. And what I especially love is that you are so clearly illustrating that the vision so many of us have held about what a pharmacist is so outdated. If you imagine in your head, what is a pharmacist? A pharmacist is someone in a white coat standing behind the counter, handing out medicine, and, not so much having that interactive, warm in relationship with the community. And everything you've just described is about community and is about cohesion and is about care. And I love this because I've always been someone who's a huge believer in the whole integrative model when it comes to healthcare and looking after the community. And so to see a pharmacist who really embodies that idea of integration and health and whole person care, everything that you're doing is so beautiful and so important. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think two examples come to mind also. I recall very early on, I'd have a customer who would come in and she had a lot of anxiety, and she'd come every day to collect her medicines. She was about our age. And what I ended up doing was prescribing her TED Talks, which are inspirational talks. So she would come in and I'd write them on a piece of paper, and she'd go home and she'd watch them and we would talk about them. So what I identified early on is pharmacy for me is a gateway to helping people with, like you said, their holistic and whole health and their whole being health. And there was another example where young kids would come to collect their methadone. They were on the methadone program. And I just could see that they didn't have connection. So I created a series of motivational conversations, and I would go and do once a week these motivational courses with these guys. And it really allowed them to see their own worth and value. So yes, to your point, there's the pharmacy inside the four walls of the pharmacy, and then seeing the patient and understanding that they need support and care when they leave the pharmacy also. So how as a profession, we can extend ourselves and understand that pharmacy care goes way beyond the transactional and much more into the relational, and that's an ongoing a continuous relationship.
I absolutely love that. And I love the term that we're using here, the social biome, because, obviously I'm the biggest microbiome nerd.
Yeah.
And everything we do at Activated Probiotics is about understanding, the biome, the concept of the biome on a microscopic level, but you're kind of making that almost more macro and looking at, well, how do you as an individual with social needs exist in the complex biome of your world, and how are these social needs being met? And something I really wanted to ask you is what impact do you think the whole COVID experience, especially for those of us in Melbourne, has had on the social biome?
I think, and I've been thinking about this a lot, I think that perhaps a positive side effect, in fact, of COVID is that there are people who didn't experience loneliness before or weren't as aware, who now have more understanding and compassion for those who experience loneliness. And it is now estimated that a third of the Australian population, so 33% of Australians, experience loneliness, right? And, pre-COVID, it was about 1 in 4. During COVID, it was 1 in 2, so 50%. Now it's sitting at about 1 in 3. So this isn't something that's subtle. This is something that's nearly epidemic. And so, I think that that's an important part of this, that people might have more understanding and more compassion, and that helps us to reduce the stigma around talking about loneliness. And I think the other thing is, post-COVID or during COVID and now, there's been an acceleration of convenience with digital health, which obviously has its benefits and are fabulous, but it takes away the incidental chit chat. So for example, if people are sitting at home and it's that convenient to speak to your doctor, have medications prescribed and have them sent to your house without leaving your couch, you are not having that chit chat that you would have had face-to-face with your GP or your pharmacist. Or your pharmacist, right? And they're the people that they might be your only social contact. So we're really chipping away at these smaller interactions, and your social biome is made up, as with your gut biome, of lots of different people, flora, fauna, things. So you need lots of meaningful relationships, but you also need, research is showing, the incidental relationships. So to tie it back to your question, I think there's a couple of benefits, is that we're more aware, and there's an ability to have this conversation now, and there's this small opportunity, I think, to really step up and make an impact and kind of start to address social health, because people can talk about it now. And number two is that, we are entering a bit of a scary phase, I think, where there is so much digital advancement and things are so convenient. I've got 2 young children and they are young enough not to be on social media. I still have an element of say in what happens there. But if you think about some of the teenagers, and I hear statistics of, 7 hours of screen time outside of school, plus school, there's no, people are comparing themselves online, and that is a nuanced version of feeling left out and lonely.
Yeah, true.
Everything's very available online, and everyone's got a better car and a better body and a better social life. And this comparison, which is, as we know, not real in many instances, it's just this facade of perfect, is really making it hard for people to stay in their own self and know their worth and choose their interactions. We're being kind of swayed left, right, centre and everywhere else. So
and the nature of those interactions is so much less authentic as well.
They're just different. They're less authentic. They're different. I'm concerned that the young generation don't even know themselves. They've had no time to differentiate and grow into their own self. So they're too influenced and swayed by these other things. So COVID's had positives and negatives on social health, but we have to be conscious and intentional with how we choose to approach this now, is my feeling.
That's a really interesting point, the positive as well as the negative as well. I actually hadn't considered that COVID had two negatives, but you're absolutely right. And it feels, it's so, you and I were just talking before about how everyone we know at the moment, I mean, we are both speaking from Melbourne right now, and Melbourne, as we all know, had a really unique experience during the whole COVID epidemic. And everyone that you and I know right now is utterly exhausted. We've lived through this kind of life-changing, unprecedented event. Now we're throwing ourselves back into life in a way that it resembles pre-epidemic world, but we're still recovering from the epidemic. You know, we're dealing with the emotional fallout with our kids as well. There's travel back on the horizon. Why are we all feeling so kind of broken at the moment, Jen?
I think that's such a big question. I think that why are we all feeling broken? I feel like there hasn't been, like you said, much time to heal. There hasn't been much time to repair, to recenter ourselves, and then go out. You know, it's hard to socialize. And this is another consideration, that loneliness is an emotion like other human emotions. And with all emotions, you need skills. You need skills to sit with them. You need skills to be curious around them, to navigate them, and skills to learn how to respond to them. And I think when you're tired and run down, like I said, on the backlog of the last couple of years that we've had, it's hard to find that energy to be curious about your emotions in a way that tolerates them, and to bring the kindness and the compassion that we need. I think we've all been so busy, we haven't had time to stop and just be a little bit kind. And so that's what I would say is that's my
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And it also ties in with, you know, a quote that I've seen you share before. If you've got it handy, can you read it out?
Sure, I'd love to. So this is a quote that I recently heard by Matt Baker, and it says, "She never seemed shattered. To me, she was a breathtaking mosaic of all the battles that she had won." And I think that's such a powerful quote, because as humans, again, there's so much battle that we go through. We've been through COVID. Just life has its own challenges. You're a child, you're bullying, there's a lot that goes on. But really, as humans, we all come out as a breathtaking mosaic of all of those experiences.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that when I first read it, when you shared it, hit pretty powerfully to me. That, yeah, especially for women, I think, especially for women, that there's so many facets to how we're feeling at the moment and our identities. And yeah, it's a really good one.
And I think as I said, I'm a mother, and I've got 2 young children, and they were home during COVID. I was working from home and my partner was out. So I had my ear pod in, listening to a meeting, making Play-Doh. This would be a common situation for lots of people. And I haven't had time to recover because I'm actually giving attention to their social needs now. They're back at school. They haven't had a couple of years where they haven't, you know, developed their social muscle. And so, you know, there's kind of a lot of people needing a lot of attention. And as we all know, you have to look after yourself sometimes, but it's hard to do when you've got dependence on you. So as a mother, I think there is a lot of juggling. There's a big mother load, as we all know. No matter how supportive your partner may or may not be, my partner is very supportive. There's still a mother, there's still a mother load, right? There's still, you know, the work that has to be done, and the lunchbox cleaning, and the homework that has to be done. And then I'm trying to spend time to talk to them about their emotions and making sure that socially they're okay. So there's a lot of juggle.
Absolutely. Hearing you. And that's something why we've been so keen to bring together this, you know, this experience that we're currently working on in Hobart in October, is to give our community, who are mainly women, some nourishing time of connection and self-care, essentially. So it's going to be the most incredible weekend of hearing from really inspirational, wise women like you, who have an important message for all of us. And, you know, I know that I could talk to you all day about, especially about the impact that COVID has had on women's social biomes. I think that's really interesting, and I can't wait for you to share more at the symposium. And I'm just wondering, looking at the list of all these incredible women we've got lined up, who are you most excited to hear from?
I feel like I have to mention a few names because most is hard when there was Dr. Azita Muradi. So really looking at resilience, that kind of ties in with loneliness also, really I feel, in social health. And then I feel like there's a great talk also with Linda Neckmar about navigating global business challenges while you're balancing your life. So, you know, as a professional, as a mum, needing to balance it all, striving for trying to keep a competitive edge while staying grounded in social health and well-being. So that's just a couple of the speakers I'm really looking forward to speaking to.
Yes. Yeah. I feel that there's something for everyone in this lineup. And honestly, the thing I am most excited about it all is just being in the same room as all these incredible women, and all nourishing each other, looking out for each other, nurturing each other. So we're going to be feeding our microbiomes and our social biomes.
Social biomes.
Yeah, amazing. So we look forward to seeing you there in October. And thank you so much for your time today, Jenny. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys. Really excited. Looking forward to the symposium very much.
Okay, thank you.